Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Underdog Podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest here with me. Oh my goodness, so honored to have you, my friend, Levi Lascsak. Like you said it to me before this, like classic without the C. So here we are, my friend.
That's
welcome.
Right. Thank you, Pam. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, it's such a pleasure to have you here, honestly, on the show. And like, it's just been a blast. Like I was telling you earlier, and like right when I met you, like I saw you on that stage at Build 22 and I was just floored, man. I'm like, I need to meet this guy. I need to hear his story and like everything he's about because I just love him. So I'm just honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much. And just like, I can't wait to, because we saw little bits and pieces of your story kind of when you were talking at Build, and I like just can't wait for you to share it with everybody. But the question I like to ask and start off with is, what inspired you on your journey to where you are today?
Well, how far back do we go?
However far you want to go.
I mean, if you're talking about current time, which is the reason that we spoke at Build, was because of our YouTube journey. Yeah. What inspired that was my previous business went to zero during pandemic, during 2020. And so that's what inspired it. Actually, when that happened, I had to take a step back and look at my life because I was 41 years old and just everything went to zero again. And so I was asking myself, well, how do I start over without starting over? Where did I go wrong in my life to be 41 years old? And then all of a sudden, I'm just back to zero again is what I felt like. Cause I've been to zero a couple of times in my life before. And I just had to look at that and say, okay, do I give up or do I move forward? Because I was at a point where financially, I was okay. I could actually go live on a small Caribbean island for, very next to nothing and eat tacos and, drink beer and probably be okay with it.
You're like, I'm going to Bali. See y'all.
Well, I'm actually more of a Belize guy. So
there you go.
I love Belize. And so I these are the things I never talk about this on stage or during webinars or guest appearances, you could say, because there's usually a very limited time. So it was one of those things where I seriously sat there and I thought, is this it? I felt like I'd been working my tail off for the last 20 years. And then to be at square one again, I thought, okay, do I just give up and literally go eat tacos and drink beer on the beach somewhere? Because I could make it off of, very, very small income that I had built up and probably drag it out. And then I'd probably open my own taco stand down there just to supplement the bills or something like that. And I seriously pondered that. And then I thought, well, am I giving up too soon? And I truly believe with the advances in health and technology that I believe I have a true opportunity to live at least till 120. So I had to stop there and say also, wait, I'm only at a third of my life. I still got 2/3 of my life to go. And am I giving up way too early? And so that was kind of like the second spark or the inspiration to say, no, don't give up. Don't move to a Caribbean island and be a beach bum. Cause that probably would have only lasted a week anyways, because I'm a worker. I mean, it's just ingrained in me even since I was a kid. So I just said, okay, well, I got to get back to the drawing board. And so I went back to the drawing board and I spent, and we can go back further if you want, but this is just what happened currently is I spent more money than I've ever spent in my life. I spent actually several $100,000 investing in things, courses, stores, and other things over the summer because, first of all, I wasn't going to go back and get a job. But what a lot of people don't know is that I invested over $150,000 into 2 Amazon stores. Wow. So I came across this opportunity where this team that I knew were successful on Amazon and had built very successful Amazon stores were offering a done-for-you program, and they were like, we just need the investors. We'll handle all the logistics, all the back end. You don't worry about a thing, just fund it. And, they gave us projections and spreadsheets and everything looked completely legit. Plus I knew who they were, at least online. So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, this is something I could see myself doing and they also said this is a 2-year play. So I knew it wasn't going to be immediate returns. It was going to be a buildup of, selling products, investing that money back into the store. And reach that compound effect.
Right.
And so the first store I bought into cost me, around $80,000, $90,000 because it was a $40,000 buy-in, like just to get in. And then I bought, about $50,000 worth of inventory. Well, the first 3 months started to really it started to do well. Now it went from like 5,000 in sales the first month to 7 to 15,000. Wow. And so I thought, well, this is going to go really well. And then that was a wholesale store. So I thought, well, I'm going to invest into a private label store because they came out with that option. They're like, look, wholesaling is great on Amazon, but when you private label, actually source products from China, put your own brand on it, buy it for $1, sell it for 25, that type of thing. That's where the big money was in. So I bought into 4 different products just because I wanted to hedge my bets, right? I didn't want to just buy into one product. And if that product didn't work out, I thought, well, I'm going to buy into 4 products, private label 4 products. So that cost me another $75,000, $80,000 to do that. So I was all in, and they didn't accept no credit cards. So, it was all cash. They were like, we're only taking cash. So I put in all that cash. Then I knew that wasn't an immediate play. So then I started looking at other options. I was like, well, I invested into this $17,000 mastermind. And then I started to buy a couple of courses. I bought, a couple of marketing courses. I bought a wholesale course, and I was sitting here actually looking at ways to not get into real estate as an agent because my friend Michael Reese was still on the side over here saying, hey, now's a good time to get into real estate. You need to come check this out. I'm telling you. And I was like, I don't want to be a real estate agent. I mean, that's not. And so I literally put in over $200,000 of my own cash during the summer of 2020 to figure out different ways to not become a real estate agent.
200,000 just so that you wouldn't do this, huh?
Very expensive lesson. So what happened was that I got into the wholesaling course. Well, what did they start teaching you? They start teaching you, pull all the tax filings and the pre-foreclosures. And guess what? You got to start cold calling and door knocking. And that's when I hit the point too, where I said, you know what? I'm motivated, but I'm not that motivated. I mean, I love the movie The Boiler Room, but I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm not really interested in calling a bunch of people to see if they'll sell me their house at a 50% discount. So I was kind of like, is there an automated way to do wholesaling? I didn't really find anything at the time. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to do that. Plus, I've always liked investing more, than just being an agent. So the other courses I bought into were just some marketing things, some ClickFunnels stuff, how to do this and that. And I developed all that. Anyways, just went through all this mess. And so at the end of it, I just said, well, I didn't see a path out of that. And I thought the Amazon stores were definitely going to be 2 years later. So I thought, well, maybe I do become an agent. And so, but I still didn't want to do that other stuff. So I had to stop and say, okay, wait a second. If I'm going to become an agent, is there a way to attract business? Can I bring it to me? Is there a way to actually do that? Break into the market, compete in Dallas, Texas, one of the most competitive markets with the highest volume of agents and some of the biggest brands out there. It's like, how am I going to do that? Where is the gap? So then I started to see, where is the gap? Where can I find an opportunity? And if I wanted to attract business, I figured, well, it's got to be social media, right? That's how you attract business. But everybody was talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, especially in 2020, TikTok. Every real estate agent was waking up to 10,000 TikTok followers, right? They'd be like, I went to bed overnight and I woke up to 10,000 followers. So you got to be on TikTok. And I was like, well, how much business is really coming out of that? Well, I haven't got too much business or no business. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't necessarily want to be a dancing real estate agent on TikTok.
Or the ripped realtor, like Travis was saying. He was like, man, I wish I could do that.
Is that what he's going for now?
Yeah, that's what he's going for.
He's got some work to do.
He's like, yeah, man. He's like, these TikTokers and ripped realtors and all that stuff. I was dying. But it's just so funny what you see on TikTok now. Some people are monetizing and some people just are not, right? Yeah. It's so new. It's like, how do you even... Yeah. Right? It cracks me up. I love TikTok. It's hilarious. Like the stuff I find, I'm like, how do you guys come up with this?
Oh, I know. Extremely creative people out there, right? I love it. I mean, They do some funny stuff.
No, I die. I'm like, please. I'm like, I have to literally warn myself before bed. Do not click the button. Do not click the button. Otherwise, you're going to go down a rabbit hole. Like, forget it. You know, but like all the channels, you know, have their own fun stuff. Like Instagram, I love the reels now. Those are super awesome too. It's kind of similar to TikTok. But for you, you found the niche in YouTube, which is super amazing.
Yep.
And I love that. Now, was there existing competition here already before you started?
Well, there's a couple of channels. I would say there's about four dominant channels, but the top one had 7,000 subs. The number 2 had about 5,000. The number 3, like 3,000. And the number 4 had about 2,000. So I looked at that and I was like, well, first of all, 4 agents in Dallas on YouTube is not competition, but still somebody's got a 7,000 subscriber head start. I was like, okay, well, is there an opportunity there? What I noticed across all of them, they're all publishing 1 video a week. So that just told me right there, well, I can outwork them. And if I ever want to catch them or pass them up, I'm going to have to outwork them. I'm going to have to double, triple the volume. So immediately, I don't like to just double. Again, I'm a worker. So I just said, you know what? If I can do 3 videos a week, then there's probably opportunity there to have a better chance to catch them. And here we are. Actually, about 3 months ago, we passed up every single channel. So within about 15 months. And so now we're the top channel here with views and subscribers, definitely in volume as far as I know, with the amount of business we've generated. But that was 3 videos a week, consistent on that over the last 15 to 18 months.
That's insane. Oh my God. I have so many questions for you. Before we dive into all that, I want to peel the onion a little bit.
All right.
Just a little bit.
Does that mean you're going to make me cry?
No.
Oh, okay.
You might. I forgot. Onions make people cry, right?
Yeah.
But question for you. So what did you want to be when you grew up? Like as a kid, what was your dream?
Astronaut.
Oh, man. I didn't even have to finish the question. That's amazing.
Yep.
An astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
What was your inspiration behind that?
Well, I'm an 80s baby. So, you know, I mean, astronauts were so cool in the 80s. And I played with Legos. I love Legos.
Unless you stepped on them.
Yeah, I tell you what. So Legos, space Legos in particular. I had the Space Police, and they come out with fluorescent visors and I mean, it was so cool. And but the thing is that, I mean, we grew up extremely income limited. Let me say that. I don't want to say poor because we had everything we needed. 3 meals a day, clothes. Now, most of my clothes, being the 3rd child, were hand-me-downs and a lot of garage sales. We shopped at garage sales. Right. Every Saturday, we'd go garage selling, and that's where I always got my clothes. We never, ever went to a department store, never went to the mall, never ate out dinner, except for Sundays after church. We would go to Mazzio's Pizza, and we could get the pizza, and I'd get $1 for video games. And, it was $0.25 a game. So I could play 4 games and that was it. Like that was the budget. And so now the thing is, it wasn't just income limited, I would say, although it didn't really feel like that. It was mindset limited. And, I don't mind talking about that. It's not a dig on my parents at all whatsoever, because we've had these discussions. They just grew up in a different mindset. They grew up in a money is scarce mindset.
My parents too.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And it's not like, and the hard part about that is that's how they were programmed. So it's very hard. Like, unless you become that person that breaks that chain, it kind of will continue in your pattern, in your generations forever.
Yep.
Right. And it was the same thing with my parents. I even grew up with that. For me to break that programming myself took a lot.
Yep.
A lot. So I get it, man. Most of us, that's how it is. And then we get to be the ones that break that chain, right?
Yep.
That's
it.
And that's it.
That was it. So, but not, and also on top of that, they didn't encourage, I would say they never encouraged me to achieve more. So that was the other thing too. I grew up in a very strict Christian environment. And so it wasn't just money was the root of all evil. Not the love of money, just money was the root of all evil. So it was, a different concept, right? And so, but they felt like earning more than you needed was kind of sinful. But also going after a job or a position or a business that would, give you any type of notoriety or additional income or anything like that as well. It's almost, I think they felt like they had to be the carpenter, the servant, the minimum wage earner to live a good Christian life. And so astronaut, there was never a, hey, here's Popular Mechanics magazine. Hey, let's, get you in some, help you out with mechanical. And I don't know, there was no encouragement I was like, I want to be an astronaut. And they're like, cool. It was just all
Thumbs
right,
up.
it was never that. So I don't think that's where I started to develop. Also, they were anti-college growing up. They didn't go to college. My two older brothers didn't. And it was literally, because my parents didn't go to college, like they didn't even understand scholarships or financial aid or any of that. They just said, well, we don't have the money to pay for your college, so you'll never go to college. And so I never even thought of, there's other options or exploring different avenues, or, it was just very like, hey, you're going to work minimum wage like we do. And that's it, and then if you earn more, that's kind of a bad thing. It's not very Christian like. So that was it. And so, eventually the astronaut died off because I just never pursued it. And also, as I started to get to junior high and high school, I started to develop the mentality of, well, I'm not going to college anyways. That's what I would say. I was like, well, I'm not going to college. So why does this matter? And why does that matter? And why does this matter? And so, and that worked, that lasted for about a year after high school. And while I mopped floors and stocked shelves, and then I realized, all right, you know what? I'm not going to play this game anymore. I got to get out of here. And that's why I joined the military, because I didn't understand could have been other ways to get money for college. And I just thought, well, if you're broke and you need money for college, you go into the military, right? So I was like, well, I'm just going to join the military. It's the only way I thought I could get out of that small town and move on. And so that's what I did.
That's amazing. Now, which forces did you join?
I was in the Army.
The Army. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that got you out of the small town.
Got me out of Stephenville, yeah.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
Oh my Lord. And so what happened during that experience? So what year did you go into the Army?
It was 1999.
1999.
Yep. The world was at peace. The last Gulf War was 9 years earlier. It ended in 8 days. So I thought, this is going to be easy, right? I thought literally nobody's going to mess with us anymore. So I could go in, get some money for college, get out. Thought that would be simple. And then 2 years later, September 11th happened.
Right.
And then everybody in the military gets deployed, right? I mean, literally, if you were in the military at that time, you're going to get cycled through.
Right. And first and foremost, thank you for your service, by the way.
Appreciate
Seriously,
that.
That's, defending our country is the greatest honor in the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's why I was asking the year. I was like, what year did you end up going in there? And to go in when everything was at peace and then all of a sudden be deployed overseas. Like, I can't even imagine. Now, were you, because I think I remember hearing in your talk at Build that you were in Afghanistan?
Iraq.
No, okay. You went to Iraq. And so, okay.
Yep.
So that's what it was. And so how long were you there?
12 months.
12 months.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. And then you came back to.
Yeah, I came back. And so what happened was I was in the Army for really a shorter amount of time, and then got out and was in the reserves. And that's whenever I came back around, actually right before September 11th. And then that's where I met Michael Reese. Do you know Michael Reese? You probably heard of his name.
I've heard his name.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I met Michael Reese at that time and needed a job, and we started he was working at Bally Total Fitness. And so I got a job there. Yeah. We started selling gym memberships there. So that was before he got into real estate.
Wow.
And he made the move into real estate in 2002. And I didn't follow right away. I was going to, but the time I was going to get in with him at that time, then we got activated. And so then my deployment was actually 18 months. So it was 6 months before even going to Iraq.
Wow.
So, and then we spent 12 months there. So I came back in 2006.
2006. Oh my goodness. And now coming back from that, did you come back? Did you go back home? Where did you kind of land?
I went back to Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. Okay.
I went to Dallas. There's no way I was going back to Stephenville.
Yeah, I was going to say, you go back to Stephenville?
No, I went back to Dallas. I was not a good money manager at the time. And so, I got back, and then, I got a job with selling cell phones at Costco. So that was, have you ever walk into Costco and you see that little cell phone booth?
Yep.
So that was me like in 2006.
Wow.
That was it. And it looks nice now, but back then it was like this little ranky danky stand with some AT&T phones.
How big were the phones?
I sold the Motorola Razr. Do you remember the Motorola Razr?
Oh my God.
You remember the Razr?
I hated that phone.
When that came out, it was like, we couldn't keep it on the shelf. Like people were coming to Costco to buy that Razr. It was like the coolest thing ever. I remember, you talk about it. I remember when the first camera phone, I had this little Sony Ericsson, and it had a plug-in camera on the bottom. So terrible.
Let me tell you.
It was.
That damn Razr. Like I remember putting it in my pocket and it would like slide out.
Yeah.
All the time. And then like I couldn't find it because it was so small.
Yep.
And then the texting was my favorite. Oh my God. To all of Gen X and anyone that was below, anyone younger. You guys are so lucky to text the way that you do.
Yeah.
Because we had that T9. And that, I think, was a gift. And not only that, but we had MySpace too. Remember MySpace? Mm-hmm. We were coding geniuses from a young age. This generation doesn't understand.
Are you talking about T9 predictive text? The predictive text?
Yeah. Like that was like the most annoying text messages I've ever like literally it would take me 20 minutes to write one text message.
Oh, I was pretty good at it.
Were you?
Yeah, because all you have to do is tap the letters, and hope that it's going to pre-populate the word you're looking for. So if you wanted to say bad, you would tap the 2 twice and then the 3, right? And it should give you bad, and then you have to select it. But I don't know. I was pretty good on the T9.
You dialed it right in. See, me, I got like the ADD. So I would like change what I was saying. And I was like, oh, I forgot to add that part. So let me just delete and then go back and do this and do that. That's hilarious. So Motorola Razrs. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we sold those.
Oh my goodness.
Sold those at Costco. That was it.
God.
So I did that for really just about 8 months, and I did so well. Then they offered me a position in New York. Wow. And so I ended up going to New York and took over the 9 Costcos in Long Island.
Wow.
So I became the district manager in Long Island, and that lasted a year. First of all, I got tired of New York quickly.
The Northeast isn't fun for you, Levi.
No offense.
Come on.
No offense. I did go to Boston once. That's what I did like being in New York, is that you could travel around. I mean, you could go to Philly, you could go to Boston, you could go to New Jersey, you could hit some cool spots that I always wanted to be or check out, and they're pretty short drives. So that was it.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So yeah, and then from there, I got recruited by a pharmaceutical company, and they offered me a position back in Dallas. So I was able to use that as an excuse to get out of New York. After a couple, I learned what nor'easters were. And,
hell no! Yeah. Welcome to the Northeast weather. Yeah. It's and everyone here is just so funny because I'm like, how's the weather going on? Oh, it was cold this morning. I hated it. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was 65 degrees this morning. Yeah. They're like, yeah, that's cold. I'm like, I can't wait if you ever go to Boston in the morning when it's 25 degrees outside.
It was 65 this morning, and we're like, we got to bust out the winter gear already.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness.
The funniest story I heard was last year when I guess there was like a freeze over here because it was like 45 degrees or something. Yep. And everyone freaked out and the whole city shut down. Is that true? Or was that just a rumor?
Well, first of all, it was a 100-year storm. I mean, it completely bombarded with snow and ice. And then it just stayed below freezing for a week. So literally, we had not seen that much snowfall or ice ever. And then it just stayed for a whole week. Normally, if it snows here, it'll be 70 degrees the next day and it's all gone. Yeah. But it was really cold. I mean, it was in the 20s, 15s. What? Yeah. And the thing is the South and the cold in the South sucks. It's not like, I've been in very cold weather up in New York and Chicago, and it's tolerable. 20s is actually tolerable. 60 degrees here. No, it's terrible. You're like, no, you're freezing cold.
So
Yeah.
funny.
I remember. So funny story was that, so I went to the pharma company and kind of fast forward a little bit. Ultimately, they offered me a position at corporate office in Louisiana, which I went back to Dallas. I was in Dallas for 18 months. Then I went to Louisiana because they offered me a position there. Then they offered me a position in Chicago, another promotion. So I went to Chicago for a year. Coldest city. I mean, that place is terrible. Have you ever been to Chicago in the dead of winter? Oh my God. That is, terrible.
Hell.
And that was 2013, which that was the winter. That was like one of the coldest winters on record for the last 100 years in Chicago. And if you've never been there before, when you walk out past a building, and they call it the wind, the tunnels, the wind tunnels, because the streets where the wind hits you when you know, I mean, we would stop in the stores, like literally stop into stores just to
and the doors
stop. Yeah, you could walk like a block. And I remember one day I went to go take the trash outside. The sun was out finally. I went to go take the trash out, and I was like, I go, man, this is really a nice day. It doesn't feel too bad out here. And I pulled out my phone to look at it, and it said 25 degrees. I was like, this is what it's come to now. I think a 25 degree day is a nice day, but it had been, it was like -3, -4 in that winter of 2013. It was January 2013 or so. Wow. January, February, March.
Oh my God. Yeah. Chicago weather. I just can't do. No.
So luckily I had an excuse to get out of there after a year.
The excuses of all the places, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to take a Southern boy, to the north. Yeah. I could survive in California. That's not a problem. Or the Caribbean.
There you go.
Move me further south. I can handle that. Heat's not a problem.
Yeah, it's the north.
I'm definitely a warm-blooded reptile.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, it's so interesting, like your trajectory and like all the different routes that you've taken throughout your journey. So after the pharmaceutical company, so you went to Louisiana, right?
Well, the pharmaceutical company, it took me back to Dallas for 18 months. And then they offered me a position at the corporate office, which was in Louisiana. Yep. And I was there for almost 4 years. Wow. And then they offered me the position in Chicago. And so then I went to Chicago, and that's whenever I became sick, really sick. So you were there at Build, you saw my picture, right? Yeah. And so what happened was I came home from Iraq in 2006 with the digestive disease. It was ulcerative colitis is what it was. I went 4 years undiagnosed because I was stubborn, but I was having, so for 4 years I was having gut issues, all other kinds of issues we'll save for another time. And, it always messed with me, but I was so stubborn that I didn't even tell a doctor about it for 4 years. And finally in 2009, I was like, all right, this is a problem. So I need to go to a doctor. Of course, I went to a doctor. He's immediately sends me to a GI doctor. They do a colonoscopy, and they're like, you got ulcerative colitis. And for those that don't know, that is similar to Crohn's disease. And it's ulcers, it's literally ulcers. So if you've ever had an ulcer in your mouth or a canker sore, imagine that in your colon or your intestines or something like that. Yes. So Crohn's disease affects you from the esophagus to your colon, so it's anywhere from the throat to the stomach to the esophagus to the small intestine. Ulcerative colitis is just designated in the colon. So, but it's the same disease, just in the colon. And that's a problem. It's a problem because that's where 90% of your nutrition gets absorbed. And the problem is that when food would get in there, if it touches an ulcer, it's like, I don't want to be here. Get me out of here. So that makes it a very inconvenient lifestyle. When you see those commercials, if you ever see the ulcerative colitis commercials, they're like, they a toilet's chasing them around, and that's the way it was. You have no quality of life because it's very hard it's very, very difficult to control, your, any type of bowel movement or anything like that. So that's how bad it was. It got to a point to where, you don't want to go out. You don't want to hang out with friends. You don't want to go anywhere because, and it's not just, it could happen. It's also, frequency, because if you take a drink of water, anything, any type of food, no matter what it is, as soon as it would get in your colon's like, get out, you know, that hurts. I mean, if you had a scrape on your hand and I sit there and just poked at it,
right,
you know, you would be like, ow, don't touch, you know,
Yeah,
you'd
yeah,
yank your
yeah.
hand away. So imagine that on the inside. So 2009, I got diagnosed. They put me on medication. You know, doctors were like, hey, no cure. You're going to have this the rest of your life. Get you on medication. And that's it. You know, that's it. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, does diet matter? Do I need to? And they're like, no, none of that matters. Diet doesn't matter. You know, you just need to be on medication forever. I was like, okay. And that's what I took that. And 2013, whenever I went to Chicago, it's just one day. And I remember the day my stomach started completely cramping up. It was like I never felt before. And then the next thing I know, it was the worst pain I started to go through. And over the next 3 months, it was complete hell. But in that first month, I lost 50 pounds. And so, you know, you go through that and you lose all that weight. And then on top of that, we just moved to Chicago, no friends, no family, nobody there for support, right. You know, and then my mom and dad were going to come and cause my mom didn't work. So she was going to come up, but then she got MRSA, which is a staph infection, like a skin staph infection, which she was able to get rid of that, but it's highly contagious. Oh my God. And so I was like, I can't even risk anything else. Yeah. I was like, no. you can come up here and kill me. So she wasn't able to come while that happened. And you know, you lose the poundage in 30 days. I was literally skin and bones and bedridden. It got to the point where, you know, it was, I couldn't sit up. I couldn't lay down because my hip bones would just rub. Yeah. I mean, you'd lay down and it just rub like on the bed. And it was, I was in the bathroom 24 times a day, literally every hour. And, you know, I couldn't hold in food or water, which is another reason. So I'd go to the hospital, they'd IV me, I'd feel amazing. And as soon as I get home and that IV dissipated, it was all over. So it's either just stay in the hospital the whole time anyways, that just happened for 3 months. I went to 4 different GI doctors. And by the end of it, they said, look, you need to talk to a surgeon. You know, we need to cut out your colon, like cut it out. That'll cure you. And that was their solution. They said, oh, we'll cut it out. You know, I mean, it's crazy what their solutions are. And that was it. I mean, that's all they had. Every single doctor told me the exact same thing. None of them wanted to deviate. I asked one specifically, I was like, well, can't we try this or that? And he goes, well, I remember specifically, he goes, well, the New England Journal of Medicine tells me that this is what, we're going to put you on this medication. When that doesn't work, we put you on this medication. When that doesn't work, we put you on this medication. When that doesn't work, we put you on this medication. When that doesn't work, we cut out your colon. Like it's like that.
Like, how is that even like a, and you know what messes me up about these medications is like the side effects. You know what I mean? Like I look at it and I'm like, they take a mental health patient who's struggling with depression, say, for example, and you give them these antidepressants and you look at the side effects and they literally say suicide.
Yep.
Why the hell would I even like what? Like that is not even remotely addressing the problem. It's almost like sedation. Wow. No, keep going. I just like it. I can't even imagine just be like, oh no, it's only this or this or this or this. Like I can't even imagine what the side effects were on the other side, right?
Fortunately, the harsh stuff was bad. The medication they had me on was really kind of like capsules full of milk. Then they're designed to actually break up in your colon. So they're really thick capsules to make it through your digestive system. And then they break up in your colon. It's kind of like, you know, spreading milk, kind of like coating. That's what it was. It was like a milk formula and it would it's supposed to coat your colon to reduce the symptoms. Doesn't cure you, right? Just reduces inflammation for a time period, which is why you have to continually take them every single day. But they never really truly worked for me. I still, you know, had issues, but you know, that was their solution. So there wasn't really any major side effects to that because it wasn't going through the liver and getting digested and all that. But then whenever they put me on steroids, steroids, all that stuff is bad. Other medications, they were going to put me on Remicade, which Remicade is a low dose chemo infusion.
Oh, wow.
And that's what they do to a lot of Crohn's and colitis patients is because they say it's an autoimmune disease and you need to, kill everything. I mean, it's just bizarre. But I didn't go that route. I found a natural doctor and the natural doctor was like, well, hey, let's just change your diet. And again, the whole time the doctors were, diet doesn't matter. Eat what you want, go have some salsa and jalapenos and, everything else. You just, doesn't matter. And so the natural doctor is like, well, let's change your diet, put you on some vitamins and, and that's what we started to do. Inside of 3 weeks, I started to get better.
All just off of diet.
Yep.
And every single other...
And supplements, yeah. He put me on some supplements, so...
And every other doctor said you basically have no choice.
Yeah. So 3 weeks, I started to get... and he told me, he goes, it's probably going to take about 2 weeks. And during that 3 months, I was still having the cramping, that was one of the worst things because it was almost every 10 minutes. So I would just cramp up. I mean, like buckling, make me clench, tears in my eyes type of cramping. And it lasts for like 1 to 2 minutes, but it was so painful. And the natural doctor, he's like, this is going to take about 2 weeks. I predict, for the supplements. And I was like, well, these cramps are killing me.
Right.
He said, put peppermint oil in coconut oil, and anytime you get a cramp, just rub that on your stomach. And I was like, okay, and went home and kept a little thing of coconut oil with peppermint oil in there. And anytime I'd start to cramp, I would just like grab a glob and start rubbing it on there. And it would, instead of a cramp lasting 2 minutes, it'd get rid of it in like 20, 30 seconds. I mean, it was crazy.
Peppermint and coconut
oil.
For anyone who's listening.
Put the peppermint oil in there. So if you suffer from some stomach cramps, clearly there's a deeper issue, but that was like a temporary fix. But it was, and that was a game changer. So I made it through the 2 weeks and then the cramping stopped.
Yeah.
And then once the cramping stopped, that's whenever I was able to kind of get my appetite back and actually feel hungry, because before I didn't want to eat anything.
Right.
I couldn't hold anything in, but then I went on an elimination diet. So after that happened, I ate chicken broth for 2 weeks, just straight chicken broth. No meat in there, just chicken broth. Wow. So, and then after 2 weeks, we, put an egg in there, and 2 eggs, and then got some avocado. So it's very soft things, absorbable things. And so, that's how I started to get myself back on the diet. On a diet was eliminating everything and just started to kind of slowly work back in foods. So, and then after 3 to 4 weeks, all of a sudden within a week, I gained back 20 pounds. Like,
what?
And then my appetite came back. Have you ever heard of Michael Phelps' diet?
Yeah.
You know how you
eat 5,000 calories or something a day?
No, like 10,000 for breakfast. No, Michael Phelps would eat 10,000 calories for breakfast. You ever see, like, he would literally go to IHOP and get, 20 pancakes and 20 strips of bacon and egg. I mean, he would literally eat like 10,000 calories for breakfast because, he would burn off like 20,000 calories swimming. So in the morning session, and then he'd go eat lunch. So I started eating probably 5,000 calories a day, and easily I was 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 dinners almost. I mean, I'd eat a dinner and I'd be like, give me more, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and my appetite just came roaring back. And that was, that actually, before I gained the 20 pounds back, that went on for 3 weeks and I didn't gain a pound. So for 3 weeks, I was eating just nonstop. I was so hungry and deprived. And natural doctor, he was just like, he's like, yeah. He goes, your body is so deprived. It's just immediately consuming all those
everything
calories.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I wasn't, my colon, was better. It was, the supplementation, everything that he put me on, that protocol, literally within a couple of weeks, like snuffed it all out. And so I was, not only was I able to eat it, I was able to start going to the bathroom like a regular person again. Yeah.
Wow.
And then after 3 weeks, all of a sudden that next week is like I just popped on 20 pounds. Like it just all of a sudden I just boop boop, and then from there it took another 2 weeks. I gained back my other 30 pounds within about the next 30 days, because I've always been right around 190, and I dropped down to 140. So
wow.
That picture that I showed up on the screen, I was 140 pounds there. So that was it. And came back from that. And that's whenever I started my financial services business, because I lost my job with the pharma company. I'd been there for 8 years, and, at a job, they're like, hey, you can have 90 days off and that's it. They want you to come back to work. And clearly I wasn't physically able to do that. So they, I ended up losing that job. After you give somebody 8 years of your life, everything, moved to 3 different states because of them. And then after 90 days, they're kind of like, well, job's a job, right?
Oh
No, it's okay. You have a position when you come back. It was like, they're like, all right, what are you going to do?
Right. Well, what were you supposed to do during that time? You couldn't even, like, I can only imagine what that feels like. And
yeah, I don't know.
That's not even, well, that's the thing about, when people tell me, oh, a job is financial security and it's this, and it's supposed to be like the safety belt to all things. And it's kind of like,
well, that's the other thing. So the natural doctors, they don't take insurance. So that was all cash anyway. So my medical insurance, it would have been great if I got my colon cut out. But I'm glad I didn't do that. So yeah, I ended up paying cash with that. It wasn't just that doctor though. Over that next year, I ended up seeing 5 different natural doctors.
Wow.
Which the cool thing about that was each one of them, the first doctor, I kind of, after about 3 months, I hit a plateau with him, and I found the next doctor at the right time.
Perfect.
Came into my life, and then he kind of got me to the next step. And then from there, when I kind of plateaued there, found the next doctor. And so each one of them really helped me in a different progression of my recovery, but it was all cash the whole time. But the good thing is, that's why you want to, you don't want to be too conservative on your money, but it's always good to have a little setback for emergencies. And that's what got me through all that, was having the savings, the emergency fund.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to anyone who's listening right now, that's maybe going through a medical issue and doctors are telling me this, and telling you like, this is your only options here. Yeah. To go out and look at different avenues, right? Because the same situation happened with Tony Robbins when he collapsed on stage in 2019. He went to every doctor in the world. Nobody could help him. Then he went to Dr. Tennant here in Dallas, actually. He's out in Irving. And he saved his life. Yeah.
Is he a natural doctor?
Mm-hmm.
He is?
Yes, he is.
I'll have to get that information.
Plug in for the Tennant Institute,
I'll tell you what,
because they're amazing.
I'm about to buy a whole bunch of Gary Brecka stuff. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's amazing stuff. But like, what's so cool in this day and age now is to see these things, because like, right, like how can you move forward in life when your mind, body, and spirit are not aligned, right? The body part, it can be so debilitating. I can imagine during that time, like, what kind of quality of life could you have had that continued?
Oh, it broke me mentally and physically. Right. I thought Iraq was tough. Iraq was a cakewalk compared to those 3 months. It was absolutely horrific. Right. Terrible. I mean, and I was broken mentally. I mean, it was bad.
Right. And like, how do you pull yourself out of that? Because there's people that get stuck in that, and then they make their whatever's going on with them kind of like part of their identity, and they don't even want to move forward with it. I've seen it a few times, and I'm like, how can I help you, man? Like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that illness takes over, and you just don't, like, the mind state, because like you said, it affects your mental mind state, and it's like, how do you come out of that?
For me, you have to keep looking.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to keep looking for answers, and then when you find an opportunity, you have to take action. It's the same thing with the whole YouTube stuff right now. I mean, I had a choice. Do I give up, move to a Caribbean island, or do I move forward and take action, find a different path? And then when you find that path, take massive action. So, when I found a natural doctor, I had never considered a natural doctor. It's just, I didn't even really knew they existed probably at that point. But I was open. And whenever I met with him, and he was just like, oh yeah, he's like, he told me later he thought I was going to die like in his office. I mean, that's how but he didn't show that to me.
Thank God.
He was like, all right. He goes, I think I can help you out. You know, he seemed, and that's all I needed to hear. And whenever he was like, look, let's get you on these supplements, he was extremely optimistic, although we have a good relationship. We're still friends. And, he'll tell you to this day, he was like, he goes, I didn't even think you were going to walk out of my office that day because I was just skin and bones, you know? And he said I was definitely the worst person he's ever helped.
Wow.
And, but he believed, you know, and he thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And he didn't show his cards to me. He didn't say, oh my God, you know, and the medical doctors, they would just look at me and be like, no cure, take this medication. Nope. They were so closed-minded about everything. Right. Well, what can I try? Nope. New England Journal of Medicine doesn't say to do that. So therefore, you know, they're just, you know, they used to call it practicing medicine because they practiced medicine. Yeah. They didn't just do what they were told from a journal, you know, and so it is what it is.
Well, it's just crazy. And thank God you were open to that, right? Because some people aren't, right? Yep. They don't think to look at an alternative solution. And thank God you did. And to anyone who's listening right now that might be struggling with anything, if doctors are telling you one thing, please go out and try to find some alternative solutions because you just never know. Yeah. Because look at your case. I mean, 2-3 weeks, like what a freaking miracle, you know? And then like what that did for you to heal you. Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible.
And that was almost 10 years ago. Actually, this will be the 10-year anniversary and not a single sign or symptom or issue ever since then.
That's God's work right there.
And no medications. I haven't even taken an Advil or a Tylenol in 10 years because I'm so naturally minded now. And if you look at the long-term side effects of that stuff as well, it's just not worth it. But I really don't get, the funny thing is as immune compromised as I was back then, I haven't even, other than COVID, I did get COVID 3 times, but
I got it twice.
Yeah. But up until COVID, I had not been sick for the 6-7 years before that. And I used to get colds and flus
all the time.
Yep. Until I stopped getting the flu shot. and then I got my diet and extra. By the way, this is not medical advice at all whatsoever. I'm not a doctor and I don't claim to be a doctor. I've just been through a lot of medical events in my life. So, you know, and so that's why when COVID came around, I wasn't even really concerned about it because whenever I looked at it and you looked at who it was really affecting, then I was like, well, I don't fall in that. And I felt so like my immune system is so strong now, which I do believe is based on diet, you know? Yeah. And so now, and I'm about to get my genetic test back from Gary Brecka. Actually, I'm doing a one-on-one consultation with him as well. Cause I'm all about it. If you don't have your health, you can't enjoy your wealth. And so what's the point of making money and working your tail off if you're not going to be in optimal health to enjoy it? And so I'm willing to spend the money on health and good food. People say I'm not buying organic because that stuff's way too expensive. I'm like, hey, that's an investment in me.
Mm-hmm. You know? Absolutely. Well, look, it brought you back. And now look at all the things that you're doing now. And like, what's really amazing is, so you mentioned that you had a shift during COVID, which a lot of the world did, right? And you made this choice to go into the YouTube side of things during a pandemic. Not the easiest time to make any major decisions, right? But you did that and you went all in. Now, to anyone who's maybe in a shift like this in their own life, what would be your recommendations and some action steps to help them kind of move forward and kind of model what you've done in your business? Because now you guys are slaying it, like we were saying, like top channel here in Dallas and just like sales volume and everything, like your educational courses. I mean, you guys are just killing it on all angles. And when you look at it, it's been 15 months? 18 months? 18 months, yeah. 15, 18 months. Yeah. And it's like, it's amazing. That's like an entrepreneur's dream, right? So just some tips and advice that you would give an entrepreneur who's looking to transit and maybe start something new up.
Yeah. Well, I love whenever I encourage people that you can hyper learn any subject in 60 days, because the amount of information that's out there is available in blogs and videos and YouTube and Google and books. I mean, the books are more plentiful than ever. And that's what I truly believe. So I don't know. YouTube's not for everybody, but if you're struggling, you've got to find something. You've got to find one way or another to generate business I don't care what business you're in. If you own your business, if you're an agent, if you're an agent, there's ways to be a business owner, and there's ways to be a real estate agent. So that's the one thing I wanted to make sure is I didn't come in to be a real estate agent. I came in to be a business owner. And so that's why I had to ask myself different questions and look at it a different way. I wasn't going to come in and shake hands and kiss babies. Nothing wrong with that. But especially during COVID, there's no media. Yeah, I know. You can't shake hands and kiss babies anyway.
You can't even come within 6 feet.
Yeah, I know. How am I going to network with people? All right, so that's out. So I had to think differently. And so once you find something, and this is what I really encourage people to do, is follow the path of least resistance, which is determine, first of all, are you a people person? Are you a phone call person? Are you a writer? Or are you a video person? Well, if you can put yourself in one of those categories, which I think everybody can, okay, let's say you're a people person. Well, if you're a people person and you're in the real estate business, what can you do to meet people? You can do open houses. You can do networking events. You can join a club. You can go rub shoulders with a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And if that's your thing, go all in on that. Learn how to do the absolute best open house possible. Trust me, there's books on how to run an open house. There's YouTube videos on how to run an open house. Somebody has a course on how to run an open house.
Wow.
I didn't watch Tiger King during COVID. Okay.
I did. Are you coming at me, Levi? Damn it.
Well, I think you were already successful by then. So hey, if I was at where I was at right now, I might say, oh, this is a good time to watch some Netflix, if COVID were to happen or something like that. But I wasn't in that position. I was starting over. And so I said, this is not time for me to catch up on every Netflix show. This is time for me to figure out what am I going to do with the next chapter of my life. And so I sat on my computer for 12, 15 hours a day, researching, looking for answers. And ultimately what led me down to YouTube is I was looking at all the other social platforms, and then I just had to stop. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to be an agent, then I had to take a look at the brokerage, because Michael was with EXP. He wanted the brokerage model made sense to me, but at the same time, I'm like,
you don't want to sell houses.
Yeah, I don't want to sell houses. All right. So I was like, if I'm going to make this work, okay, how do I do this? Well, I started to look at who's the top agents, the top attractors in EXP. And so when I started looking at the top 5, top 6, top 7, I found one common trait. All of them had a really strong presence on YouTube. And so I thought, well, maybe YouTube is the way to go. And then I'm kind of an old school person. So the first thing I did was buy all the YouTube marketing books I could find. And that book right behind me, YouTube Secrets, which we're featured in, by the way.
Hey,
yeah. Well,
nice.
Here's the other thing. We weren't 18 months ago. They just came out with the second edition, and we're in that book.
Let's go.
Can you believe that? I mean,
I can.
Yeah, that's the drastic change you can have from going nothing to featured in one of the best-selling YouTube books now, because I picked up that book. And when I picked up that book, Benji had one small paragraph in like chapter 9, and it said, he had a real estate channel in 2009. So you talk about the OG of real estate, possibly could be Benji Travis. And he had a channel called Home Deals TV, I believe. And he said he was a struggling agent, barely doing 10 deals a year, about to get out of real estate. And then HUD approached him because of his YouTube channel and gave him the contract for the Pacific Northwest. He ended up listing all the HUD homes the next year, sold over 100 homes because of his YouTube channel. And so that was like, ooh. That was an attraction model, right? It was putting the information out, and that's what he talked about. But he only mentioned that in like 2 paragraphs in that book. So then I thought, oh, okay, so YouTube, but all they talk about is YouTube's a search engine. I was like, that's the problem. I'm looking at these other platforms, they're social media platforms. And because I'm 41, I've got this love-hate relationship with social media, you know, didn't grow up with it in high school, wasn't there in, you know,
we
in
passed
college.
notes.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
These
So
damn kids used to text
I
now.
I still had not bought into social media, right? Because we look at it and we go, all right, it's people just bragging, posting their lunch and silly cat videos, right?
Yep.
That's
dancing.
Yeah. But then we're like, well, the 20 and the 30-year-olds are like making some money off of this stuff. So now we're going, okay, maybe we should take a closer look.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, well, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it through social, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, because that's what everybody was talking about. And I just didn't sit well in my gut. I was kind of like, it's not me. It's like, how am I going to jump on there? And then all my friends and family are going to be like, oh, you're in real estate now, you know? Oh, you know, you're a dancing real estate agent. Oh, you make pointy videos? You know? I don't know. You know?
Oh God.
You know, I'm like, is that what I'm supposed to do? And I just couldn't see myself doing that. And so that's whenever I stopped. I'm like, okay, let me look at the top agents at EXP. What are they doing? And I just noticed, I was like, okay, you see some of up there. I'm like, oh, they've all got strong presence on YouTube. Let me buy YouTube books. Benji's talking about a channel providing value, and YouTube's not a social media platform. It's a search engine. And if you can create content that people are already searching for, they're going to find it a lot better than me trying to dance on TikTok and try to, you know, convert somebody 12 months later. So that was the aha moment. And from there, it was like, okay, well, if that's what I'm going to do, I'm going all in. I'm not going to try to be everywhere, because if you try to be everywhere starting out, guess what? You're going to put 20% effort into 5 different platforms. Pick one platform, go all in. And I think it's easier after you master a platform to branch off in the other ones.
And build your brand too, right? So
I just went all in on YouTube and started that. And right around in the 90-day mark is I'd met Travis a little bit earlier than that, but we weren't working together in the beginning. But at the time when clients started to come in, that's when we started to hang out together. And I didn't want to show homes either. That was the other thing. I was like, well, how am I going to be a real estate agent and not show homes? I was like, I probably need a partner. And whenever I met Travis was like, hey man, I want to sell 100 homes a year. I'm going to be I'm just going to close some homes. I want to sell some homes. I'm like,
great.
He didn't want to prospect for it. You know,
you're like, this is like the dynamic duo.
I was like, ooh.
I don't want to be out there.
Yeah.
I'll get them for you. I'll go fish. You just take the fish and go cook it.
He didn't want to fish. He just wanted to close.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we're like, okay, well, maybe we got something here. And so when the clients started to come in, Travis was like, I'll go show him homes. I'll go take him around. And then he started closing deals.
Was he wearing his pineapple shirt?
Oh my God.
No.
That guy. we still go back and forth a little bit. We have discussions all the time. It's funny because sometimes he calls me his dad, because sometimes I got to do a little regulate, you know? So
gotta love Travis.
I definitely love him for who he is. And I never want to, have somebody present themselves who they're not.
Right.
But at the same time,
here comes the dad.
I do find there's a line of, professionalism sometimes, but it's, he knows he has some interesting sweatshirts and things like that. He would wear to conferences, and I'd just be like, I don't know if that's the best let's, how about we not wear that to the conference? And he'd just be like, what, man? I don't see anything wrong with this at all. I'd say, well,
like, let's rock and roll.
Can you do me a favor? And he's super cool. He's always like, all right, man, if it's important to you, then, so
you're like the brand. Well, that's a dynamic duo right there too. And I mean, like, it's just so amazing to hear your trajectory and like where you've been and all the different pivots that you've taken. And like, now you're here. I mean, you guys are blowing up, and this is just 2 years in, which is incredible. So like, one of the things that I would ask you based on your journey and everything that you've done is, what would your older self tell your younger self based on what you know now?
I wish I would have. So I believe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Amen.
There is only one thing though.
Just one.
If I could change one thing, that would be to take the internet seriously in 2000. To take Facebook seriously in 2005. To take Facebook advertising seriously in 2009. That's the only thing I would have, but I don't know. All of that, if I would have done that, I might have went down a different path, and I might have never met a natural doctor, and I might not have a colon today, and I might be the sickest rich guy ever, and maybe even dead,
Right.
But so that's why I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But the thing is that because I still had that mentality of, that limited mindset of, the internet, it's silly, or that's a fad or something. I mean, I literally thought that Facebook came out. I was like, oh, well, Facebook, it's stupid. It's for college kids, instead of being curious, instead of saying, you know what, let me take a look at this. Maybe there's something to that.
Right.
Whenever Facebook advertising comes out in 2009, you know what, maybe I should study how to run a Facebook ad, instead of, that's stupid,
Right.
Although they had the absolute best data points on anybody at any time given, even possibly better than Google at the time. I think Google's far superior now,
Right.
but at that time,
yeah.
Yep. And so, that would just be, I would say this is a big reason right now, like blockchain, NFTs.
I was just going to ask you how you felt about all of that.
Well, that's why I'm a big advocate for it right now, because I'm not going to put myself in that position again. So right now we need, if you're a real estate agent, I'm telling you right now, you need to take it seriously. Don't be the agent in 5 years that is like, well, maybe I should start learning about this NFT thing because, that's where everything's going to be moving towards.
Well, every house is going to be on an NFT.
Yeah.
So I'm part of Consortia, which is the only SEC certified blockchain designation for real estate, period, right now in the country. I don't know if you've heard about it, Consortia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do some stuff with them.
Yeah. So the blockchain is, Web 3.0. So that's going to be a whole new world.
Yeah.
And it's like, if everything's moving on there, you better move fast, because the first ones to the gate always win.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny, like Gary V, TikTok was Musically before TikTok, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. No, I didn't.
Okay. Had you heard of Musically?
Musically, yeah. But I didn't know.
That was TikTok. And I remember Gary V talking about Musically, saying, because Gary V's like the ultimate curious guy, he's like, I'm going to
futurist.
He's like, I'm going to get it. So people would be like, oh, Musically stupid. And Gary V would be like, it's a social platform. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to understand it. Will it go out of business 6 months? Maybe. He goes, but I'm going to learn things about it. I'm going to understand it. And what happened? It turned into TikTok. It had actually the same, it wasn't the TikTok, it had the what's the TikTok logo now? It's like
it's still like a little music symbol.
What do they call that? The treble clef? Is that the treble clef?
Yeah, I think so. It's like I can draw
that's what
it
it was.
You, but I can't remember.
But it was music.ly. That's what the app was before.
So crazy.
And I remember Gary V at that time, and even at that time, because that was just before, I made this shift. I was still at the time going, oh, okay, dancing on Musically, dancing videos. I was kind of like, oh, that's definitely not me. And so again, I remember I downloaded Musically app just because of what Gary V said. And I played around with it, but I still had a limited mindset to go, this is silly. Okay, I don't see any utility for this. I don't see use of it. And of course it just renames to TikTok. It was the same app. And then all of a sudden, Kendall Jenner and everybody else gets on there, and then it blows up. And then
crazy. Then
think about the first real estate agents they got on there, and started to take it seriously, and use it as a producer versus a consumer. Yeah. So if we continually look at these things from a consumer side, you're not going to fully understand it, which is why whenever I say hyperlearn something, what I did was study YouTube for 60 days to learn the fundamentals and principles of the platform and how does the platform work. Then you can look at how does it apply to real estate? How does it apply to financial advising? How does it apply to a plumber? I mean, there's a plumber. We've had a plumber on, he lives here in Dallas, Roger Wakefield, 450,000 subscribers, does $1 million a year in brand deals. He's sponsored by Lowe's and Home Depot. And he talks about clogged toilets on YouTube. And that's what he does now. He runs, it's funny, and I called him. I had a plumbing issue the other day. His van pulls up. It looks like a huge YouTube thumbnail. It's like, and the branding is consistent there. But I'm saying that a plumber has an audience of 450,000 people, brand deals in the millions. It's a utility. It's a search engine, right? People watch that content, love him. I mean, Home Depot and Lowe's or plumbing companies can say, hey, this guy's got 450,000 people directly interested in plumbing. Why would we not advertise there? Why would we put, Drano on TV whenever who knows who it's going to hit?
It's going to hit, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So, that there's opportunity there. And now more than ever, you could be a quilter, you can make money off of quilting right now because there's an audience out there.
It's insane.
And they're on YouTube.
It's insane. Oh my God, the opportunities are endless. And speaking of which, what's up in your world in the next 6 to 12 months, Levi? I can't even imagine what you guys are up to, what you're chefing up over here.
Yeah. We're already planning for next year. So the one thing we do is we map out conferences for the next year because they're already pretty much out there. So we look at all video and real estate conferences. Mm-hmm. We determine which ones do we want to attend, which ones, can we get to? Are we going to be speaking at any of them? Mm-hmm. If we're not, is it worth it to go? But ultimately every conference we've been to this year, I could write a book on this, of the things that happen because of the people we meet, the things we learn, or the relationships we build based on each and every conference. So what everybody always looks at is today's cost versus tomorrow's value. And you can't look at the monetary return on a plane ticket and a conference ticket and a hotel room. You can't look at it's very hard to measure and say, oh, well, I spent $2,000 to get here. I'm going to make 3,000 back. Doesn't really work like that. You're going to spend 2,000 to get there and it may return you $100,000. But how do you directly connect it except for the relationship or the person that I met because of this opportunity? You saw the story at Build, right? Yeah. If I had not been at Build last year when nobody knew who we were.
It was crazy.
Right?
Oh my God.
But here's the story to that. If you got a minute.
Yeah, let's do it.
So if I was not at Build last year, I would have never taken that picture, and I wouldn't have heard Jay Kinder say on stage, because Jay Kinder was on stage and he said, the people that tell me they're going to be on stage end up on stage. And that's why I took that picture. And that's why I sent him the picture and said, because I was sitting in the very back row, the least expensive ticket. And I said, nosebleeds this year, on stage next year. And I sent that to him. Just him, because he said, the people that tell me that they're going to be on stage will be on stage. But it doesn't just stop there. You can't just go sit on the couch and manifest that now. Mm-hmm. You've got to put in the work.
Right.
But here's the deal. They release Cabo at Build. So the Cabo event gets released at Build and it typically sells out because you think about it, there's 6,000 agents at Build. There's only 1,000 agents that can go to Cabo.
Right.
So they release it at Build. Guess what happens? It gets all booked up.
Out.
So we booked Cabo from Build last year. We go to Cabo, and what happens at Cabo is Brent Gove and Gene Frederick are on stage, and guess what they say? They say, if you want to be on stage or you think you should be on stage, you need to tell us. You need to let us know. Yeah. Don't be shy. Don't think that you're bragging or it's ego. They said, we want to hear this. We don't know everybody's story. We can't. We don't hear all the successes out there. We know you're out there, so you got to tell us. I was standing in the back, again, the back row at Cabo. I was standing there, and Brent got off a stage, walked the perimeter, and came and stood right next to me. Not on purpose, just randomly. Well, I was sitting there listening to the next speaker, and I looked over. I'm like, who's this person in my space,
Yeah,
I'm like,
get out of my way.
Yeah, who's crowding me over here? And I look over, and it's Brent Gove. I'm like, hey, Brent. And he's like, hey. I was like, my name's Levi. He's like, hey, Levi. I was like, we met once before. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. I said, we should be on stage at Build. And he goes, okay. He goes, send me a video. Can you send me a video? And I was like, send you a video. I think I could send you a video. And he goes, keep it short. Tell me your results and a little bit of your story. Just send me a video and I'll check it out. I was like, cool. So that happened at Cabo. Well, I recorded that video. It was only about 10 minutes or so. And I told him about our results and I told him about my story on the back end. I sent that to him. Well, there was an event in Dallas, a one-day real estate event called Billionaires Mindset. We were supposed to speak there. We got invited to speak there, and then we got pulled last minute. And we got pulled last minute, but we still went. So so I know that there is some behind the scenes stuff, because when you grow this fast, it's going to rub some people the wrong way.
Oh, hell yeah. That's how you know you're doing something right.
And so, but I'm just like, hey, that's like I said, I know I'm doing something right. And if some people are concerned about it, then they're probably just threatened anyways, right?
Of course.
So Brent Gove is not threatened by my success at all whatsoever.
Oh, no, he's a man.
Yeah.
I love him.
You're not threatened by our success. You don't feel like we're going to take anything away from your real estate business, No. So we got invited to speak there and then got pulled. But what I could have done is I could have said, this is a bunch of bullshit. This is not, we're not going to that. Instead, I said, no problem. We're still going to go. We're still going to go. And because it was in Dallas, a one-day event, we invited our whole team. We wanted our team to go because we want them to be involved. I said, we're going to go anyways, but only Travis and myself knew about, getting pulled. So we didn't come in here and cry to the team and say, kick dirt and sand,
Right.
We said, no, let's go. Let's see what we can learn. Mm-hmm. I didn't know Brent Gove was speaking at that event. And he literally watched that video 2 days before he got there. So whenever I walked in and he's there in the event, his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. And he was just like, Levi, he goes, he's like, your story's amazing, blew me away. He's like, oh my God. And then when he spoke up there, he spoke for an hour and a half. I swear it felt like for an hour, he just talked about us. About how amazing we were, about how amazing we were, that how he'd been in real estate for 27 years, never heard of a story like this, and just went on and on and on. And he was like, Levi, stand up. He's like, you better talk. And to me, that was also a little redemption, right? Because I was like, I knew we got pulled from there to speak, but then that was way better to have, someone like Brent Gove, talk about that. And so that was cool. Now, afterwards, Brent was like, Levi, it's not completely up to me. He said there's a committee for build and, we get 150 applications. We can only choose 40 people. He goes, everybody deserves to be there. So I can't promise you anything. He said, but I got a pretty strong vote, He goes, I'm pulling for you. He goes, and I said, you know what, Brent? I said, I appreciate the opportunity anyways. And from there, we stayed in touch, then I get a cell phone number and we're, and then we start texting. And then next thing I know, Brent's just like asking me to come on Zoom calls and do trainings with his team and everything starts, and so he's so excited and so happy. And then from there, we go to shareholders, this shareholders event. It's a conference and I go there and somebody from there, I run into them in the bathroom. I don't know who they are, but they're like, Levi, I heard you speak at Brent had you on one of our Zoom calls. And I was like, cool. And he goes, can you come speak at our event in Tahoe? So
cool.
I was like, yeah, okay. 17,000 square foot cabin overlooking Lake Tahoe. I was
absolutely,
you get an invite in the bathroom to go speak there. I was like, sure. Well, guess what? Brent Gove is speaking at that event.
Wow.
And so now Brent gets to see me speak for real. And all of that is the series of events of showing up. And then about a week after that, I believe, or so, Brent texts me. He's like, you made it. He's like, they picked your story. So you're going to be up there. And so, and that was it. And then they're like, you got to keep it secret. I was like, I can't tell anybody.
Damn it.
I can't tell anybody. That was just their thing. They like to keep that stuff secret. But that was a year ago. And this is what we talk about with our real estate team. You can't measure. If I would have said that $500 ticket last year was too expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't go,
Yep.
none of that would have happened.
Correct.
None of that would have happened. Zero. And so you can't put a monetary return, I believe, on these conferences and these opportunities. And
No.
just like with yourself coming in here, hey, do you have time? Absolutely, I have time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people ask me to be on, can you do, I say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Everything else is going to work around it, because I don't know, but I know that if I can help you out, you know, provide for your show, you're helping us out, because we'll get content out of this as well.
Right.
Plus now I know, you know, I know
underdog.
how cool you are. Yeah. I'm like, all right, you know, and that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it's about. And I say, you know, so even though, you know, downstairs you told me, hey, I appreciate you taking your time. I'm like, no, this is, you know, this is a great opportunity. I appreciate you, you know, for the invite. And so that's the cool thing about it. But I can't directly measure. I mean, I can tell you my hourly worth, right? But I'm not going to say this hour cost me that, you know, and I can't tell you what the return's going to be on it. But I just know that if I continue to show up and help people, that the return will come back in one way or another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, it's what you mentioned, it's all relationships at the end of the day. Right. And like those things lead to things that you will just never dream of.
Yep.
Never, ever, ever dream of. And it's just such a gift. But when you set your intention, that's when you go far. Yeah. And that's what I love. I just can't wait to see where you guys are next year, like a year from now. Like you're just moving at such like light speeds. Like it's amazing to see the growth. And like, so what's planned for the next 6 months for you guys aside from the conferences and all that?
I think you asked that 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. No. Well, I know you said conferences and all that.
Yeah,
good stuff,
we schedule all that and then we work everything around it. So it's I think for us, it's just continued movement towards progress. Yeah. You know, I love the book, you know, Simon Sinek wrote The Infinite Game. Yeah. And it really kind of put things in perspective. It's, you know, cause I've always achieved goals, but I've never really felt like, okay, I'm going to sit back now. It's always like, okay, on to the next one. You know, we do things, we accomplish things. It's kind of like, all right, let's keep moving on to the next thing. So for us, it's a continual emotion and, you know, staying active and progressing and every single day. I mean, there's a lot, we got so much stuff we're working on, but the only way you can do that is just day by day. Right. And you know, just taking steps towards the goal every single day, but there's different goals and the goals are always moving and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about this the other day is I don't really like the word failure. I think the only way you fail is by completely quitting and stopping. Mm-hmm. You know, we've done things that we just learn, you know, it may not be the right path for us at the time. And if we have to stop or readjust, we just learn something. And but I also believe it's better to make decisions in the position of power when things are good, because if it doesn't work out or you need to adjust, it's easier to do that when things are going well. Because you're either going to make decisions in the position of power or the position of fear. Or desperation, right? When your back's up against the wall. And then when your back's up against the wall, you usually have less resources to work with. And then also you run the risk of being desperate and making mistakes. Yeah. And so, you know, but also that's the time that you can come out and, you know, have the biggest success story. So I see both sides of it, but ideally it's like when we hired a real estate coach, even when things were going well, instead of waiting till things got bad or we got stuck or we said, we're just like, no, let's hire a coach now because we're growing a team. Stay on track. Yeah. We've run businesses before, but we hadn't run a real estate team. Mm-hmm. So we wanted somebody overlooking our shoulder to keep an eye on us to make sure that we don't step in the potholes along the way. Let's stay smooth as best as possible. And he ran an 80-person real estate team. You know, he ran a mortgage company. He exited, sold, so he's got the experience, and that was a good fit for us, for someone to look over our shoulder. And so even though we didn't need it, or we could have said, oh, we don't need to take on that expense because they're not cheap. Coaches, good coaches are not cheap. No. We said this is a necessary expense because you know, we feel like it's going to keep us out of trouble. So you know, this next 6 months is I'll say this, we're working on a book. Hey, nice. Yeah, the book, what we've been told is possibly January time frame for that. So It's called passive prospecting. And that's what we're building this whole concept on, of the power of video, especially through YouTube, is passive prospecting. Going back to the original story of my motivation to not have to cold call and door knock and spend money on postcards. Nothing wrong with that. Again,
Right.
I know a lot of agents that have built very successful businesses out of it. Just wasn't for me. And I think we all love the idea of passive income, but passive income comes with a lot of work up front.
Yes.
Just like passive prospecting,
Yep.
you know, you have to build the content, you have to build the videos, but once you do that, they work for you 24/7, 365, and not even really 24/7. We talk about the concept of compounding time, and that's what video does for you. I mean, you know, for example, our channels watch 1,514 hours in one day, 1,514 hours in one day. That's equivalent to 63 days. So who can compete? You can't have a team. You can't have an inside sales team that can compete with the return of hours from that time frame, you know?
No.
So that's the power. Last in July, our channel was watched 1.34 years in 1 month. So and in 18 months, it's been watched equivalent to 14.88 years. So we've gained in 1.5 years, we've gained 1.5 decades worth of prospecting.
That's insane.
That's a compound effect. That's the compounding your time. And that is passive prospecting, because once we created one video, it's now prospecting for us not just 24/7, multiples, because 10 people can watch that one video in 1 hour. And if they all watch that video for 1 hour, that gives you 10 hours because you just reached 10 people over an hour. So that's the compound effect.
It's amazing.
Calls, door knocking, that's all one-to-one. You know, you can only, and even if you have 10 salespeople, they can only call one person at one time. Exactly. But a video can be watched by 10 people inside of 1 hour and return you 10 hours in that 1 hour.
It's insane. It's so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's so mind-blowing. I just can't wait to see the growth and all that. I can't wait for that book release as well. It's going to be so exciting. I'll definitely have to come back to Dallas for that one for sure.
We'll send you one. Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of the channel,
you
got to let us know where to find you, my friend.
Well, the best place right now is passiveprospecting.com.
Yeah.
I would say go there, sign up for so you can be the first to know when the book comes out. Yeah. So we're compiling that list. We're not going to, sell you. We're just going to let you know that the book is released. And of course, we want everybody's support to go out and buy the book when it's released. We would love to, get a high velocity of sales on that. It was funny, you learn these things as you go through the process. Never, written a book, but we're working with a publisher on it. Yeah. And I was like, well, let's do pre-sales. And they said, well, pre-sales don't count towards actual sales when the book is released. So if you pre-sell 10,000 copies, that doesn't count towards the velocity if you want to make it on bestseller list,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay, good to know, right? Good to know. Because I'd be like, let's pre-sell it all day long. But but no. And so they're like, well, and so, okay, let's collect the list. And that way we can let everybody know. Right. And hopefully within that first week, we can drive, a lot of traffic. Because I think we've got a pretty good audience. And I know we've got a lot of, really great people that enjoy the content we put out there. So this will be a very consolidated and concise way. Plus, hopefully it'll be, I don't know what the pricing will be, but let's say $20 or $24 maybe. So it's full on. I mean, it's going to be legit. This isn't going to be like Amazon self-publishing type, paperback.
This is legit.
Yeah. We're making it real. So that's a cool opportunity. So check us out, passiveprospecting.com.
Passiveprospecting.com. Oh my God. Levi, it's been an honor to have you here today. I absolutely loved hearing your story. I just can't wait to see where you go from here on out. Oh my God. Just honored to be part of your journey as well and to know you guys and just watch what happens from here. Because you're only just scratching the surface, honestly.
Yep.
You really are. So thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.